Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're introducing a new project that has some personal meaning to me and to the family, and I'm excited to share this with you. I know it's different than what you may be expecting, but we all have a certain affinity for different cars because of our personal history. So let me introduce you to the next project. This illustrious turd is a 1976 Chevy Nova. I know, some of you guys probably just threw up in your mouth a little bit, but I actually really appreciate these cars. My very first 4th Gen Nova was a 76 hatchback, and I won my very first race that I ever won on a track. Did a little bit of street racing, a lot of street racing. With that, it hauled my stuff back and forth to college. It became my daily driver for my first professional job at the nuke plant. I used it to haul everything I owned to my first apartment. The old hatchback was as handy as a pickup truck. But I did a lot with that car. Again, winning my very first race ever back in the mid-80s, and so many great memories with this chassis. One of these 4th Gen Novas that we are known for is the black one that we had that was a 4-door. We had originally picked up that car in 2001, and I was starting to build it up to be a hot rod, started to build it to be an NMCA EFI class car. But that didn't pan out. We ended up stripping the car down, making it very light, taking it to the Grassroots Motorsports Challenge, and actually competed there with it in 2004. We were the first car to run 10s in that event's history, and subsequently that got published in Hot Rod Magazine September 2004. It was a real privilege to have my car published in that. As many of you older guys can appreciate, we always pursued and hoped for that day that we would see our car in ink, and the very first car I had that was in a publication was a 4th Gen 1977 Nova. A lot of people discount these 4th Gen Novas because they're pretty heavy, but truth be known, when you start pulling out the battering ram bumper reinforcement parts, you can drop 40 pounds there. The air conditioning system is over 40 pounds, is 53 pounds. The heating system components under the dash, 22 pounds. Changing the steering box to a manual steering box will save you 40 pounds. And when you start going front to back on the whole car, taking out the door girders and all the stuff that you would do to lighten up a more traditional hot rod, these cars get pretty light pretty quick, and are very competitive when you put them up against the more traditional cars. Fortunately, these cars have a subframe that is the same as the 70 to 82 Camaro, so many of the pieces that interchange with those can be bolted onto this car. The back end is the same as the earlier Novas, so all of the aftermarket suspension components that you can buy for them are interchangeable. So what we have here is an older hot rod build. You can see that the cage that's in there is pretty pathetic, not even close to the pillars or anything. But a lot of work has been done to the car that we'll take advantage of, such as stripping the car out. The door girders have already been removed, that's 42 pounds. We'll immediately take the bumper apart. Right now we know that we can save 44 pounds by stripping out the front bumper and 38 pounds by stripping out the back bumper. Previous owner put on a fiberglass hood, put on weld wheels, traction bars, a spool in the rear, 456 gears. So there's been, this was somebody's pride and joy at some point in time. The thing I'm most excited about is going to be the power plant that we plan to put in this thing. This is a project that both Calvin and I have been wanting to do for quite a while. And without further ado, boom, we introduce the next power plant project. We both have been wanting to do a Gen 5 small block Chevy in a project, and I was able to pick these up middle of last year, and we have one in Calvin's car. You've seen that project progressing, and this is the other project that we wanted to do one with. The beauty of this engine is it's has a lot of improvements over the LS. You can go back to the comparison video that Calvin did a while back comparing the LS to the LT, and we're super excited to see where this platform's going in the industry. Companies are introducing products for this platform that are going to make this a very comprehensive and viable option for anybody looking for high performance NA or boosted. So we've already been gathering parts. After we purchased the engine, we started picking up things like the intake and the co-post spec oil pan. We wanted to start to prepare for this build, not anticipating that it was going to be built this year, but ultimately this kind of makes more sense to be a bolt-on style build. In light of the fact that the injuries are going to take longer to heal from, and the Studebaker is going to be a much longer build, we thought it would be good to bring this out for the 2023 drag week, and we're going to race in the small block naturally aspirated class. So super excited about that because it scratches a lot of itches with the direct injection, the Gen 5, it's a Nova, it's bolt-on, it's leaf spring. There's just a lot of itches that we get to scratch by building this project. Next, let's throw this up on the lift and show you some of the ugly that this car showed up with. Like any old car, certain critters have taken up residence inside. The old hot rod had a cell in it. Apparently had a battery issue here because this whole area is just rotted away. We'll be able to fix that pretty easy. One of the plans that we have is we're going to move the springs inboard and we're going to put sliders on. Funny story, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Back in 93 and 94, I was running sliders on leaf springs, and now they're all the rage with the current focus on leaf spring racing. Then you have their dual exhaust on here and home-built ladder bars. We've already verified that it is a 456 geared 7.5 rear end with a mini spool, so this thing's going to find the dumpster pretty quick. So whenever you're building a Nova, the first order of business that you have to take care of is locating the frame exactly where you want it. That way when you build custom headers, you know exactly how it's going to fit and that everything does fit. This whole thing was shifted up. The factory bushings were just absolutely junk. So Calvin let me stand in front of the lathe and machine these things to put them in. We made all 4 sets of these replacement pucks to locate the engine and make sure that everything fit proper, including the transmission shield. And now we know exactly where we can route our headers to and not worry about this frame being shifted or moved around and changing the clearances after we build the headers. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we'll do is we'll show you how bad this was when, how flexible this was with the old bushings in it. Back up. In our efforts to accumulate parts for this prior to starting the build, our focus is always on what oil pans are available, and we choose whether we're going to make our own oil pan or buy one. In this case, we chose to buy one. These have the pickup tube built into the pan itself, and it is absolutely critical that oil control is part of your decision making when building a drag car. We have over the years found a number of fallacies or faults with pans that are available, and this Moroso unit has already corrected all of those issues, and we were able to buy this as a complete component with the windage tray and the pickup tube already engineered into it. We're going a little bit off the reservation on this project. We're going with Paraglide. Normally we run Turbo 400s, and we're going to start getting into the Paraglides and 4L80Es. You'll see some video on that in the near future with changes that Calvin's working on one of his cars. But for this one, I wanted to focus on weight, and didn't want to have to modify the floor. And we're going to try and work with the bleed valve here to change the line pressure to allow it to have a tighter converter as we're rolling down the road, and a looser converter when we're on the line. So very excited about working on this and trying new things. And again, I'm going to wear you out with how many times I'm going to say I'm excited, in that doing new things is something that Calvin and I always enjoy doing, and here we are, all the way to the transmission will be different.
Alright guys, one of my favorite things about this era of car is they have these little body tags, and you can use them to sort of decipher what the car originally came from the factory with. So let's go through it on this car and figure out what this thing rolled off the factory floor optioned with. Alright, so there are a lot of online resources for decoding these body tags, and I'm using the one off of novaresource.org. So the first thing on the body tag that we see is that it is a 76 model year. Next we see a 1, and that means that it is a Chevrolet. Next we see an XX, and what that means is it is a Nova and not a Concourse. Next we see that it is a body code of 27, which means that it is a 2-door sedan and not a hatchback or a 4-door. Next we see a W, which means that it was produced in Willow Run, Michigan. And then we see the sequence number of the chassis. Next we come to the interior trim, and we see 19N, and what that means is that it had a black vinyl interior with a bench or bucket seat. But we also see the A52 option under the seat type, and that means that it was a bench seat. Next we get to one of my more favorite parts of decoding the body tag, and that is the original paint color. For the body color we see 051, and what that means is that the body was painted a bright yellow. And then for the top color, from the trim line up, it was a 11, which is just plain old white. So this car was originally yellow with a white top. So obviously we're not going to keep the car the color that it is now, because it is not really a great color, and it's probably going to bake the brains out of the passenger, just because it's going to absorb all of the sun's rays. So what color do you guys think that we should paint this car? Should we go back to the original color, or is there another color that we should go with? Should we go with the blue of the original Nova that my dad picked up?
The OG blue.
Yeah.
Should we go back to the OG blue?
Or is there some other wacky, wild paint combination that you think would look great on this car? Leave a comment.
Like and like.
Alright guys, You've heard us mention wait a whole bunch of times, and in light of how atrocious this roll cage is, we're going to cut this out and put a chrome moly cage in and fit it up tight to the pillars and door jambs and make a nice cage for this.
No.
You gotta catch that weld right there. That is
This
just-
one's the worst. Right there.
Oh yeah. Can you say booger weld? Alright guys, we've given you a quick tour of the car. Paul has done such a great job of fixing me up. I think we're going to have her fix this car up. What are your thoughts on that? Leave your comments down below. I can be a supervisor. She can do all the work. Make sure you like and subscribe, and check out the store. We've got t-shirts for sale. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
And
See you
we'll
in
see you in the next one.